Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the last West Coast Fables Panel.
Oh.
But you're here for it. We have many things to discuss. This time we want lots and lots of time for questions, especially since I'm sort of getting the impression that some of you may have things that you want us to answer for, certain decisions recently made, and we'll get to that. But the first most important thing is every panel we try and have a special giveaway. And our special giveaway this time, oh, that's me, is do you want to open this and we'll show the box.
Don't mind if I do.
Right. Our special giveaway this time is some of you might have seen this incredible design by Mark Buckingham Fables bookends. Nice big heavy bookends that can hold a lot of good Fables books, for example.
Which I'll be throwing out into the audience.
Yes. So one of you four are really lucky. Here's the thing. For the big gift of the afternoon, or the evening in this case, we make you guys earn it. And because it's in celebration of the last big story arc coming up, we're going to have you compete as couples. If you're here with your sweet patootie, then you could be eligible. By the way, the couple that got engaged at the One and Only Fables Con, stand up and wave high. So that, couples compete together. So when we look for our 3 competitive groups, we're going to pick 3 couples. Now, we don't want to be unfair to those of you who showed up, without your sweet patootie. So this is going to happen late in the panel. In the time before that, if you want to form a temporary alliance to compete as couples, then form whatever alliances you can, and we do not judge at all. So, just to let you know, forewarning, that's going to happen. Let's introduce our people, and I think Shelley should do this because, well, Shelley
knows who
brought us together. So, let's do the introductions.
Why, thank you. Thank you for coming, everybody. The man that was just speaking, let's start with him, because without him, we wouldn't be here. Creator, writer of Fables, Mr. Bill Willingham.
Yes.
To Bill's right, the always effervescent Steve Lealoha. To Steve's right, the fabulous Mark Bucky Buckingham.
Hello.
And to my left, decked out in amazing stripes, Andrew Peepoy.
And last but not least, the El Commandant of Camp Fabletown, the woman who has had us under her thumb and under her lash, her unforgiving lash for 12 years.
Over 12 years. And counting.
And which is amazing because she barely looks 11, is
Oh my God, was that a compliment? I'm waiting for you to ask me to stand up, Bill.
the diaphanous
Oh my goodness.
Shelley Bond. Stand up, Shelley. Stand up. And there are literally hundreds of people who helped get Fables out each and every month. We explored so many stories over so long. We could not possibly fill them all in the panel, and of course they didn't all come to Seattle. But there are just some amazing talents, writers, artists, people who moved the material through the machine, which is such a vital part of having a serialized story run for 10 plus years, who could not be here or seldom get a chance to take their bows. And since this is the last West Coast Fables panel, I hope you will not think me too maudlin in asking you to do a round of applause for all the Fables people who are not here with us tonight, all right? Well,
Probably should.
if I name some, I mean, there are hundreds. The ones I leave out, you know, I've just insulted. So that's why I go for collective thanks whenever possible. I'm old, I'm feeble-minded, I can't remember things. One of the answers that Mark and I gave earlier for why it's probably time to bring Fables to a close is that when you get to the point where you can't even remember every one of the cast members in your story, that maybe it's time to start thinking about wrapping it up. But we have something a little more important to get to first. Foremost, how incredible was that Seahawks Super Bowl game? I mean, oh my God. I've been a Seahawks fan since 2 years before the Seahawks existed as a team, because I lived in the Seattle area and we've been trying to get a NFL expansion team for years, and of course they kept saying no. No one even knows where Seattle is, and all we know is it was a logging camp with that guy who played Spock's father as a mill owner, and that's it. That's all anyone knew about Seattle. Some of you actually get that joke, and oddly enough, as soon as our family actually moved from Seattle, they got the team, so maybe they were just waiting for us to leave. But I've been a Seahawks fan forever, and it's a long time coming, but and that first score, I mean, 12 seconds into the game, record-setting, the best kind of score in football ever, where it's a safety, where you score against the other team, and it's the only score in which you don't immediately have to kick the football to the other team again to be fair. Those unlucky bastards have to give it back to you right away. Oh, it was just perfect. Let's spend the next 30 minutes examining a play-by-play of... No. All I can say is, well, not all I can say, but what I'm going to say is why don't they just cancel football now that the best game ever has been played? But now, let's get back to the singing Fables. We promise you a big announcement at this show. Here's the problem. When we started arranging, you know, every year we arrange to do a Fables panel, especially at Emerald City of late. When we arranged the panel and had to put in the information for the panel description, we promised a really big announcement. The really big announcement is that Fables is ending with issue 150. Unfortunately, the news started to get out. I think because Shelley Vaughn can't keep her mouth shut. But
Excuse me, I am sitting here.
that's true. Would you please turn your back so we can talk about you behind your back?
Sure, no problem.
No, the announcement, we wanted to stay ahead of the news, so we made the announcement. So I apologize that was the big announcement advertised. So the big announcement is it's still going to happen. We were thinking of doing a funny thing like, haha, just kidding, we're going to keep going. But then we'd have to turn around and say, no, we were just kidding then. It's going to... it was time to wrap it up. The reason it was time to wrap it up was mostly story-driven, working out this big arc that's coming that you're just on the threshold of getting now, the last year of Fables. It became clear as we began to structure it, and we structure these things pretty far in advance. I think, what's the standard, about 2 years out? We will often?
Usually 2 years, sometimes even 3.
Yeah, yeah. The big stuff. I mean, we don't write every line that far out. As a matter of fact,
That would be nice, actually.
yeah. I was just gonna say. I knew you were gonna say it. Sometimes the every line part that has to happen before it gets drawn sort of happens the day that the issue's supposed to be coming out, weirdly enough, magically, it doesn't just come out as soon as I finally get it in to them. Apparently someone has to draw it. I never pay attention to that nonsense because I think it's a little rude of Shelley and her cohorts to refuse to publish these things until we actually get them written and drawn. So, really. But, yeah, as we began to construct the story, it became increasingly clear that this was the last story. It sort of has to be. In a way, I hope you'll realize as you read it. Either that, or we had to put that story on hold and then do other stuff in the meantime. But the danger there is you don't want to do filler. You don't want to just phone it in and kind of just keep the motor running and idle until you're ready to close shop. We've done that before. The first time where it was sort of planned that Fables would end with the first event was when Geppetto's defeated and signs the Fabletown Compact. The problem is we kept pushing that story out ahead of us because we wanted to do more Fables. And it was in our hearts getting stale. You know, it's like, well, when we finally get to that, you know, we'll have lived with that story so long, will it be any good? So we decided to do it, but then keep going. This story, it won't be possible to both do the story and then keep going because everybody dies. That's not true. When Matt Sturgis and I were writing the Jack of Fables spin-off that was 50 issues long, we decided to wrap that up. Because we're perverse bastards, we decided to do a true Shakespearean ending. As a matter of fact, I think the last issue was called The Shakespearean Ending. And we're talking about the tragedies where Billy Shakespeare would, it seems almost literally to me, get to the point in the play where all sorts of stuff has happened. He says, that's about long enough. 5 acts worth. Let's have everyone just die on stage. So we did the big Shakespearean ending with Jack. So we promised with this announcement that the one thing we definitely wouldn't do was kill everybody. So your vote for the one fable to survive. We will start. Anyway. So that's going to happen. About a year from now, we're closing shop. Can we, because we did promise a big announcement, talk about the length of the final issue?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Is it locked in?
It's locked in.
Okay, because Larry was looking at me kind of askance earlier, and maybe I pissed him off, and we got...
Nope.
You know, okay.
I'll take care of Larry. You go for it.
So we're having normal issues right up until issue 150, and then once again, Shelley Bond came up with, I thought, the genius idea for... I mean, to do a final issue, you go big with the story, obviously. But she said, why don't we also go big with the page count? It's issue 150. Why don't we do 150 pages of story? So, the first thing Mark said,
As his hands were shaking.
something along the lines of, who's going to draw this? You sanctimony? No, he doesn't talk like that. But so the conclusion of the big story is going to be more than a normal comic's length. It's going to be pretty big, and Mark's drawing that. But we're also, we have the main storyline with the stars of Fables, but we have a huge cast, as I've mentioned. And so, starting with 141 and leading up, and then including in 150 with all the extra pages, we're going to do some short stories about what is the last thing that happened with. You ever see the great movies that end, and then you get that little before the credits thing, like Animal House, of what happens to each character? Well, we're going to do that, and some of the characters are more important, get a few more pages, some less, but. As many characters as we can, we're going to do what is the last Jungle Book story, what is the last Flycatcher story, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to have some wonderful artists come in to do that, and it should be terrific fun. But anyway, so that's sort of an announcement, and that is what we're doing. Because of that, I think you guys deserve a chance to express your feelings about Fables coming to an end. I think we've been just terribly blessed with how loyal and evangelical our readers have been, more than any other time. And I've been in this business 30 years, which is, you know, not long compared to continental drift, but pretty good compared to the length of my usual comics projects, which were like 4 issues and out or 6 issues and out. But I've been in this business for a while, and I've never seen a readership so determined to get these books into other people's hands. Back in the old days of comics, newsstand distribution, like the 60s, that type of thing, it used to be estimated that for every comic book sold, it gets passed around because that's what kids did, and there was no real collector's market then. You rolled up your funny books, you put them in the back of your jeans, played baseball for a while, and then, you know, read them again and spread them around. So for every comic that was sold, there was probably about 4 readers. Then that ratio went away sharply during the height of the collector market, where people were buying comics specifically to hold on to for their value later on. And it went way down to, like, for every comic sold, for like every 6 or 7 comics sold, there was 1 reader, which was a terrible, terrible ratio. We have no science to back this up, because the comic publishing business is not big business in comparison to, you know, well, big business. So we can't do, see, I can't even remember the word right, scientific research about, you know, that sort of thing.
Research.
Thank you, market research. But anecdotally, it appears that with Fables, at least, we've turned that back around again, because every fan that it's our privilege to meet has a story about how I showed this to my mom, and finally she understands why I like comics, or I showed it to my wife, or wife saying I showed it to my husband, or my kids, or even my grandparents in a couple of occasions, and we started to get the impression that Fables has readers. Not a lot of, you know, just collectors so that it'll be valuable someday, but you guys love passing these things around, and that is just a great thing. I'm not sure what point I was leading to, other than, you know, thank you for doing that. I know the point I was leading to, and thank God I interrupted myself before I could get that. But, so I think you've earned the right to air your opinions on the fact that we're closing shop in a year. Not yet, not quite, in a year. So we decided to let you ask questions. If you have a question or a comment that's along the lines of, way to go, it's best to end on a high note, go out when you're on the top, end things on your own terms, you are free to address those questions to me. If, however, it's what the hell are you doing? Don't stop. What were you thinking? Just keep going, and I don't like this plan at all. There's a plethora of people on this panel that you could address your questions and comments to, and I think that's entirely fair.
Not that he's pointing at anyone in particular, but I know that Brits have a tendency to play the villains in most movies over here now. I think I know who he's looking at.
Yeah. Before we get to that, and we are going to, so that's just a fair warning, take questions early. This got really maudlin. Do we, let's arm the panel with T-shirts.
Time for some levity.
Yay.
Yeah.
Some levitation.
And also, when you ask a question, we've got some books and things. Just put a big pile out there. Just, let's get a lot of them
Actually,
thrown out there.
but there is another
What?
announcement to make.
Oh, yes. What is that?
I'm going to talk a little bit about Fairest.
Oh, right.
Some of you might have noticed that now and again I manage to sneakily do a bit of writing.
In his spare time.
In the spare time between the millions of books that I have to draw. And first off was the prose story in issue 100.
Sorry.
And also, Bill and I did a Buckingham story together for House of Mystery. And recently I've been helping out a little bit on the scripts for Fables as well. And all of this ties into the fact that for the last couple of years I've been talking to Shelley and Bill about a story I really wanted to tell that involves all the animals and all the characters at the farm that I have had such a huge affection for ever since I drew Animal Farm when I first joined the book. And so I'm very pleased to announce that the final story arc of Fairest is going to be called The Clamour for Glamour, and I'm going to be its writer.
Bucky had me at the title. Right from the title I was in.
Yeah, he kind of sold it to me and Shelley with, and being very Mark Buckingham-ish. Is like, well, here's my title idea, and then he tried to say, and now the idea would be, we didn't even get that far. It's like, great title, let's do it.
Pretty much.
Now, that is a little funny, but I got to tell you, Mark's storytelling instincts were proven long ago, and although we never really specifically credited him as such, he was in many significant ways the co-writer of Fables in the sense of contributing ideas, genius ideas sometimes, all along the way. The reason he did not get credit is because I am a greedy bastard, and I need so much reassurance that
I never knew
want.
that about you, actually.
Yeah. But to give you an example, even a two-issue story that he did not illustrate, he sparked the idea for if Fables, for example, gained power through popularity, wouldn't a scoundrel like Jack try to take advantage of that? Which sparked the whole Hollywood Jack two-parter that got him stealing all the gold and going to Hollywood and getting these movies made of himself and thus becoming semi-indestructible throughout the Jack of Fables story. Mark didn't even draw that, but he just contributed, and it's like there's one significant problem with that process when you get an artist that is such a good storyteller, but not just a visual storyteller, but a writer, is that's about the time I begin to get desperate. That what am I going to do when Mark realizes he does not need me? But yeah, so the idea, I mean, I'm not even sure I would have needed to hear that wonderful title and to a certain, you know how you're always talking about couples, and apparently we were called, what is it?
Is it the fairy tale power couple?
Yeah, the fairy tale power couple of comics. So that's not unmanning by any stretch.
No, not in the slightest.
It seems kind of fitting, actually, from where I'm sitting.
Not that there's anything wrong with it, but to tell you the truth, the idea of Mark coming and saying, I've got an idea for a story I want to write, that sells the deal right there. It's just like, you know.
Can I tell them a little bit more?
Yeah,
about
but
it, shall
now
we?
the premise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, a lot of you will remember that way back when Prince Charming decided that he fancied running for mayor in Fabletown, he went round promising all the animals that they could get a glamour so they could leave the farm and go and explore the mundane world and be freed from the shackles of not being able to escape the farm territory. And of course, an awful lot has happened in the series since then, and nobody's ever addressed that issue. I mean, it was made very clear by Frau Tottenkinder to Prince Charming that that could never happen. So what I was thinking is, well, you know, they've been through a lot lately, and they're now back at the farm, and the human characters are moving back to New York. So, you know, these questions can start coming back up again. And what's really been winding all the animals up is that Ozma gave Reynard a special spell that allowed him to just transform to human form at will. And, you know, Reynard is not the kind of guy that would just quietly enjoy that. You know, he is going around just making sure everybody knows what a fantastic time he's having, being able to become a human whenever he feels like it. So that's going to really stir up trouble at the farm and really get a lot of them asking questions about their situation.
But he's going to have to pay big time.
Yep, he will suffer. And there will be a female that will be coming into the story. They're not necessarily a wedding, there'll definitely be a shotgun or two. There's an opportunity for us also to explore a lot of the lives of characters at the farm that we've really not had a chance to visit before. So we're going to go spend some time with the Owl and the Pussycat. We're going to explore some further adventures with Super Lamb. We're going to go on a little murder mystery adventure with the new detective couple in town, Clara the Raven and Sergeant Wilfred. And we're also going to explore some of the things that happened as a result of all those characters that died being sort of reborn into Haven, and what effect that has on those characters suddenly reunited with loved ones they'd lost. So that's something else that we'll be exploring too. So there's a lot of kind of emotional weight to this story, a lot of opportunities to examine the lives of these characters as part of the process of us saying farewell
And I
to
think
all of the Fables cast.
it's important to just add that Mark's artistic partner in crime is the amazing Russ Braun, who will be penciling and inking this story arc.
So if you enjoyed Roots and Branch or the work we've been doing together recently on Camelot, then you're in for a real treat.
Or about the last half of the Jack of Fables run. He did a Humpty Dumpty that just scared me. It was so good, and I love him for that.
I inked a lot of that stuff. He's great, so if you haven't
Yeah.
seen it, check it out.
So that is coming up, and I think it's going to be an extraordinary story because it has everything in it that Mark has lovingly contributed. Many of the characters that he's using are the ones that he sort of just started introducing into the background as visual comedic elements. And there's nothing funnier when you've got a terrible, horrible trauma going up at the farm where lives are at stake, to also see a bunch of playing cards sunning themselves, but they stack themselves like a deck, because of course that's what playing cards do. That's all Buckingham, and so yeah, take it away with that and do all the damage you can. I want to do a thing where we talk about future plans, but I think we need a mass T-shirt throw. By the way, these T-shirts, did anyone here attend Fables Con? All right. Did anyone here hear about Fables Con? Yes. All right. We had a T-shirt designed for Fables Con. It's not specifically a Fables shirt, but it's like a celebration of mythic fiction done by Mark Buckingham. And we sold them well, but in cleaning my garage, I found a couple of boxes of extras. So raise your hand if you would like a FablesCon T-shirt, so that when that becomes the most famous convention in history, you can pretend that you were there. Then we're going to send them your way.
You ready?
A mass throw? I think we should
Yeah,
go.
let's do it. Let's just go for it.
All right. All right. More. Throw them all.
Okay. Bucky, I think you have a career with the Seahawks.
First, before future plans, Andrew, any fond memories of the run on Fables that you would like to reminisce briefly about?
Well, I mean, it'd take too long to briefly reminisce. No, I've had a great time doing Fables. I mean, as you know, since I remember. I mean, you were telling me about Fables before the book even came out. We were having breakfast at a convention, and it sounded great even when you were just telling me about it. And, I was a fan for several years before I ever started working on the book. So I mean, It's been great for me. I mean, I've done lots of comics. This year's my 25th anniversary in the business, and certainly I've worked. Well, thank you. And I've worked on a lot of stuff, but Fables has been fantastic because it's like it's so rare that I actually get to work on something that a book I'd love even if I wasn't working on.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't narrow it down to just one thing. I mean, everyone's been great to work with. It's a fantastic series and probably going to be one of the highlights one of the highlights I'll ever have in my career.
I just wanted,
go
I
ahead.
was just going to say that one of the nice things for us in this final year of Fables is we're going to try and bring as many of our pals that have contributed to the book along the way
Right.
back into the book in this final year. And for example, Andrew is joining us to ink the very first episode of Happy Ever After. So it's really great to have Andrew there, and Steve will be inking away through most of the rest of it, I'm sure. And it's a great opportunity for us to try and bring everybody back together and give you something very special.
Well, one of the ways, probably the way that Andrew earned himself a place in the Fables family, and once again, not to be maudlin, but at times I do consider it a family we chose. Andrew is a wonderful inker, but he's also quick, and I can't remember when I found that out, but with a book like Fables to come out so often on time when so many things are stacked against that, including a writer who's so god darn lazy that
Really?
that sometimes there's delays.
Seriously?
Well, we've only known each other, 30 years, so I don't think we're ready to get serious yet. But anyway.
Delays, huh?
Shelley asked me because sometimes when things get delayed, the last guy in the production line, which is either the colorist or the inker, sometimes both, sort of gets pushed out of page just because of the sheer necessity to get this thing done. And Shelley asked me, like, who's not only good but fast, and I remembered, Andrew's good. And he showed us something that is such a rarity in this business, is that there's plenty of people that can be good and plenty of people that can increase their speed and do it fast. But in almost every case, when they have to work faster, the quality goes down. And with Andrew Peepoy, and I don't know if this is a curse more than a virtue, he's a good inker when he takes his time, and it doesn't change when he has to rush like a mad and crazy, which I guess we've made you do often, right?
That's the way it goes.
I think
I love that about him.
it's also fair to say, I like to refer to Andrew as our #1 wingman, because whenever we need him to help us on anything over these past 12 years, he was at the ready in an instant. And I think it's also fair to say he's just quite a chameleon. When he inks, he can ink so many different styles, and it looks seamless. So thank you, Andrew, for being there for us.
Yeah.
Glad you.
Now, Shelley's wrong in one important. He got the nickname #1 wingman because for some reason he loves hot wings and will never stop eating them, even to ink. So many pages have come in with the stain, a chicken wing outline stain of buffalo sauce on them. But it's worth it. We have production monkeys at DC with whiteout that is able to. That's almost a true story, except for there's no facts in it. Steve, any special favored reminisce about the 12 years we've spent together?
It's all a blur. I don't know, I've been in this business a very long time, and I've rarely been on a book. I've been on a lot of very well-known books. Warlock, Howard the Duck, the original Star Wars, and so on. This is the longest I've ever been on any title, just because it's such an excellent book. That's really all I can say. It's been a pleasure. It's hard to believe 12 years have gone by.
Let me tell you, my favorite. I don't know if I've told him this memory of Steve is that when we were putting the art team together, and Mark made it clear that originally the idea was that we would have a new artist with every arc of Fables, much like Sandman did. And that way, because even though writing an ongoing series is, the template for artists recently, 10 years ago, was they would do a book for a while, get tired, and move on. So we knew that we were going to get Mark Buckingham to draw one of the first arcs, but I thought it was going to be the first arc, but we were working ahead during one of the rare times when I was able to do that. And Shelley offered Mark his choice of the first two arcs, one being Animal Farm, one being Legends in Exile. I had not realized that Shelley was going to do this because I was still under the impression back then in my naivete that I was running the show. And Mark picked Animal Farm because he was sick and tired of drawing cityscapes, and the idea of drawing farms and animals, I guess, appealed to him.
Yeah.
But then Shelley floated the idea of Steve Leialoha on inks, and I go, well, Steve Leialoha's a great inker, but he's never going to do it because he's such an incredible penciler too, and why would he do that? For 12 years, I assumed he was just going to quit at any moment and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to do something I don't know that I've ever done. Steve, is it like a daily warm-up exercise, the line dancing stuff?
Yeah.
To get his hands going in the morning, he draws a new, just whatever's in my mind at the moment, picture every day, and then from time to time he takes these things and collects them in a set of books. Are both called line dancing, or did you have it?
Variations
Yeah.
on the same.
But they're just these collections of drawings that every single one of them tells a story. And in this business, you can have the greatest artists in the world working for you, and the art comes in dead, because in comics you have to tell a story with your art. And he tells these, what the first time I saw him, I could not believe him. I wanted to rip the book apart, put all of these illustrations in some kind of random order, and then write a story that somehow connects them. They're just so wonderful. Well, he's got those at his table. Do yourself a favor. Also my table. Do yourself a favor and come and pick those things up. Take a look at the very first illustration, and if it doesn't suggest a story to you that you want to hear told, then put it back down. Otherwise, give him far less money than he deserves for those, because he doesn't charge and do that. But he's such a great illustrator. I always thought all along that at some point we'd lose you just because you need to do that. And I think part of the bribes of when I thought we had to bribe you to keep you on, because I don't know if DC actually pays these people. I don't care. Is that he's illustrated some fable stories, and he illustrated the wonderfully illustrated Peter and Max. I'm not going to blow my own horn, and it's just tremendous stuff. And of course, he drew the issue that's out now, and I just think what a wonderful team we had that managed to stay together. No art and writer team stay together for this length of time. It's just not done, and yet somehow it happened. So that's my favorite moment, kind of spread over 12 years of panic that he was about to leave me. As a matter of fact, I guess every one of you is just like, that's all my reminiscences. What if he leaves me?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've often been asked about, how it is that we've sort of carried on for as long as we have. And I always say, I kind of make the Beatles analogy of, I didn't want to be the guy that broke up the band. I was always so happy, so content with the camaraderie and just the spirit of what we were doing. And I adored your storytelling techniques, Bill, and every script you wrote was just something I wanted to draw. I would get so frustrated every time a script went to someone else because I didn't have time to get to it, because they were always stories that I thought, oh, that would be so good to do. And I've been so blessed to have Steve as an inker for all these years. I mean, I've admired his work my whole life, and just the thought that he would, take the time to ink my work rather than drawing his own stuff just
great.
touched me so much.
So fear of being Yoko was really what kept you around. So Shelley, a favorite reminisce?
Oh my goodness, that's tough. Wow. I guess the truth of the true answer is when you sold me the original pitch on the phone. Because I don't know if a lot of you know this, but Bill and I go really far back to 1988 when Bill was a writer of Elementals, and I was a very young, obnoxious assistant editor who made it her mission to somehow track him down to finish up scripts. And
He was late?
you know, it is hard to believe, but yes, back in the day. And when I got to DC many years later, I knew the first person I wanted to track down was Bill Willingham, because even though he drove me nuts, I thought he was a genius, and I really wanted to bring his work to life again through Vertigo. And so we worked together a little bit on a few Sandman Presents books, but the day that he and I got on the phone, and I said, Bill, I really want you to do a monthly, I know you have it in you. He pitched me something, and he really wanted to tell this story, and I wasn't interested at all. And I was like, Bill, do you have anything else? And that's when he pitched me Fables. And like from the first sentence, I said sold. I was always a fan of fairy tales, and Snow White and Rose Red were favorite stories of mine. And as soon as he gave me the high concept, I said, yes, this is it. Let's do this one. So that, I think, has to be my favorite reminiscence. And really, to be able to work with a team like this for so long, it is such an honor. And to have ardent fans like all of you, it's a privilege. I've also just really enjoyed every day working on Fables. And I don't want to get maudlin either about it.
Oh, she didn't enjoy
but
every day.
almost every day I have enjoyed with this team. I felt like we from the very early on, we had a terrific camaraderie and a great rhythm in terms of getting the book together, because we all cared so much. And I really do think that this fan base is unlike any other in comics. So thank you all so much for supporting us.
I'm gonna let Mark, who's finishing this up for us, think just a moment about his favorite reminiscence. But in the meantime, or while that goes on, we have Snow White and Rose Red, the versions from The Wolf Among Us, even to the extent of adding the animation lines, which it just charms the hell out of me. They've got about a dozen Fables books and Peter and Max books and things like that. If you think you might like them, they're going to circulate around, and here's how you get one. You have one word in which to charm them. It's totally up to them if you want a book. If you succeed and they say you can have one, you can have your pick of what they have, but you just have one whispered word. We don't want to interrupt people until we run out of books, because that amuses me to make you guys work for it. So go to it, circulate or get the whole room. So Mark, favorite reminiscence?
Good question. I mean, I have to follow up on what Shelley was just saying by thanking Shelley, because really this book would not have lasted the 12 years, be heading towards its final 13th year, if she wasn't there for us every month, just making the book happen, just encouraging us all. I feel very fortunate to have an editor who is so supportive and so hands-on and engaged in being a part of the process and inspiring us all. So I think we were extraordinarily lucky to have her. As far as reminiscences about the series, I think that the funny thing for me is that when I came onto the book, and I became very fond very quickly of all the characters in the series, I used to be a great championing for trying to save them. A lot of you probably know that Flycatcher was supposed to die in March of the Wooden Soldiers, and that was the first time I actually stood up to Bill, was like, no, hang on, I like this character, please.
Mark is officially stealing my reminiscence, but go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, sorry, Bill. Anyway, and so basically, he killed Wayland instead, and you win one, you lose one. But what's interesting is that as the series has progressed and our cast has become more infinite, and I've got sick of drawing certain things. I've become the devil incarnate in the team who's now constantly suggesting we slaughter vast members of the cast and destroy buildings and worlds. And yeah, so I'm now the evil one in the group, but there we go.
He also arranged to get the Woodland building destroyed because he was tired of drawing, if I recall correctly. But then, not because he didn't want to draw anything so complex, he had an even more complex building in mind that he would prefer to draw constantly. I don't know what...
Yeah, that was a mistake too. Can I kill the castle next?
So, now, all right, I think we're about to run out of books. But to make sure we get it in and that we can give this thing away, here's what some of you have learned that we sometimes make people sing and make people dance and make people just basically humiliate themselves for our entertainment. And we're going to do that now, too. But we're going to do a couple thing, because really Fables tonight is all about love. The entire panel is this vast redemptive hug that we're going to give to each other. But we're going to do it in the form of, let's have couples. If you're a couple, I want you raising your hand like, in lock, hands together. Snow White, our animated Snow White is going to pick one. Our animated Rose Red is going to pick one. And I think our Super Sherpa, Stephanie, is going to pick one couple to perform. Now, don't raise your hand unless you're willing to perform, because you, oh baby, are you going to perform right now. But each of you, pick what you think is a great competitive couple to win our grand prize. Go ahead, pick one. Let's do it now. Now. So my reminiscence, of course, is the same as Mark's. The first time I realized I didn't run Fables was when I wasn't even going to submit it to Vertigo because I didn't think it was their kind of book. As a matter of fact, I told Shelley on the phone, well, it's not your kind of book because you like to do things about pouty-lipped rebel teenagers with piercings and tattoos. And although I think that's a fine thing to be, it's just not, I wouldn't know how to tell a story about them because I don't know what makes those folks tick. And that's Vertigo stuff. And Shelley goes, well, that's not necessarily Vertigo stuff. Yeah, she sounds like Broderick Crawford on a bender. But, so she says, tell me the premise. And I said, fine. Because I said, I'm working on this thing that I'm not going to submit to Vertigo. She says, you're telling me the premise, Buster Brown. She did not use the term Buster Brown, but I cannot tell you the term she did use. So I told her the premise and said, see, it's not the kind of thing Vertigo is interested in. And she said, yeah, you don't know anything. You're handing that proposal in Monday. This was a Friday. And we're going to accept it. And she just said that. It's like, DC accepting a proposal is like a long and arduous process. As a matter of fact, the first time after so many years I worked with her, it was just a challenge because I said, DC took 8 years to decide to accept one 7-issue project, and they really did. I won't tell you what to, not embarrassing, but so I said, DC can't make quick decisions. And she says, well, I'll tell you what, you submit anything and I will give you a yes or no in 30 days. And she did it. Because everyone at DC is scared of her. But anyway,
There's that.
so she just told me she's handed in, we're accepting it. And they went through a process that, was it less than a week?
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
And they said,
Yeah.
yep, we're doing it, which is very good because 2 days later I saw the first commercial for the first Shrek movie, and it looked like everything I thought Fables was going to be.
Yep.
And I thought, that's it, DC won't want to do this. They beat us to the punch. And so I called DC, and Shelley and Jeanette Kahn was still the president or publisher of DC at the time. And they were on the phone, and I was just saying, okay, look, I'm going to let you guys off the hook and withdraw the proposal because, of course, you won't want to do it because Shrek is out there. And they laughed at me. They're just like, you are so stupid and yet naive. Yes, we're still doing the book. So that's it. But that's the first time I knew that I wasn't really in charge of this project. And the second time was the time that Mark said, in no way are you killing Flycatcher. And I go, okay, I guess, I'm just doing what the people in charge tell me to do. So I didn't. And I think we got arguably the best Fables story arc out of it because Mark said, you can't do what you're planning to do. So good on them. Now we have our performers. And when I say performers, it's like, Fables is about love. So each and every one of you, each couple, is going to perform the Romeo and Juliet balcony scene as if Bigby and Snow White were doing it and meeting for the first time. And because we don't have a lot of time, you're going to do it simultaneously. And then, pardon me? Yeah, I know, but we're pretending what we don't, so it's even more funny. And then the three judges of Piggy, they're going to confer together on which wins the prize. So, I don't know what the script is. You do. I don't know if you want song interludes. That's up to you, whatever. But Bigby and Snow having their first conversation a la the Romeo and Juliet balcony scene. And you don't get to hide over there. You get to come right up around here, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, go, and you're going to start. And then I'm going to cut you off after a certain amount of time. So get ready. Perform for your lives, kids. So, not only one, but two animated Wolf Among Us versions of Snow White. How cool is that? And for the first time in my life, I recognized who someone was actually cosplaying to be, which I'm not. All right. 1, 2, 3, go.
It's going to be at least 100 degrees.
We can't hear you.
Project!
Taking you the whole farm. Oh, yeah.
You want everything. Maybe your roads.
10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wrap! Judges, confer. I love my life sometimes. I really, really, really do. What do you think? Well done. Fables Bookends. It is, I don't know if you've seen it, it's wonderful. It's great. My only complaint, and it's a small one, is I don't know if you know the story theme of this, which is one side has all the heroes of Fables, or at least 4 of them, and one side has all the villains of Fables in 4 of our greatest hero-villain matchups. The problem is, if you put them with books between them, they're not facing each other, they're running away from each other, which wouldn't happen. So I think what you really need to do is go out and buy 2 sets, so you can have at least one set where they're facing each other, but then there's still 2 sets running away, so you're going to have to buy 2 more sets. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much. What? Yes, great idea. What do we have? These. Are there just 2? All right. Well, they're couples. They're going to have to share. All right. The runners up. We have 2 that we found of the rare boy blue is coming back, which turned out to be a real lie, didn't it? Scarf. So if the couple, you're going to have to share, but you know, if you really do love each other, you will. So there you go. Anyway, so questions. We will now take your questions, and we will take your questions. We are going to a Fables dinner soon, so we will take your questions until that guy with the growly face kicks us out, or us people with the growly bellies decide it's time for dinner. But we have a tradition of, like, you know, every Fables panel, we will answer one question sincerely. And since this is the last West Coast Fables panel, I think we're going to try and answer every question sincerely. You were first.
You talked
Good question.
Shelley, take this.
Well, we certainly would like to, but you'll have to wait and see.
We'll tell you this, that James Jean, when he left, and he stayed so much longer than we thought he was, because this was a guy going places. The lowest paid work he did was his monthly Fables cover, because he was getting these things from like Playboy and Scientific American and Prada,
Yeah.
for God's sakes. He was doing the covers out of love, and he lasted about 40 issues longer than I thought he would. He left with an open invitation. All he has to do is ever just pick up the phone and say, I want to do whatever, and he would. So, the invitation is going to go out. Anyway, the lights are in my eyes, so the lady sitting next to the guy in the green T-shirt right there, yes, you.
I'd like to ask why there's been so little GLBTQ representation in fables, because you have this amazing world, this amazing opportunity to retell these characters, to retell these stories, and you've really changed a lot of them. But the majority of them seem to fall into this dynamic where it's like, okay, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy. And there seems to have been very little diversity there. And I absolutely love the story with Rapunzel and the Egyptian. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And I wish there had been more of it. I'm wondering, was that a conscious decision on your part?
No, it's a conscious indecision. And I actually mean that. Diversity is a scary word to me in the sense that there is a sense of you better toe the line and fill in the blanks of, you need 2 of these and 1 of these, and I do not react well to that. But the overriding priority in telling any fable story is what's an interesting fable story for me to want to tell or for some other writer to want to tell, and that's it. There has never been a moment, and I can't speak for DC, I can only speak for my career and stuff, where there was a consideration of, do we have enough of, and fill in any perceived group member, actual group member, to make this a story appropriate to everyone. Stories are appropriate to everyone who finds them and finds them appropriate. That's it. You cannot, I cannot do a by the numbers thing. I'm not wired that way. In no way is this a rejection of, well, I can't have these kind of people in a story. It's just that this is the story that occurs to me and is worth telling. I can't, there's a saying that I'm going to paraphrase, that no magazine, no story can survive the mistakes of more than one person, which is just another way of saying story by committee never works. I can't do anything but follow the lights of this is what I consider a good story, and the inclusion of or the exclusion of any types of person will never ever figure into that mathematics. I don't know if that is a sufficient answer to you, especially in a world where we do indeed count heads. Some of my best friends in the storytelling business make me cringe sometimes when they say, my story is good because I've got 1 of these and 3 of these and and I'm happy with that. Good for you if that's what you want, but that's not what drives the story. The story that drives me is, what characters do I like, what situations do I like, and what's the worst thing I can do to those characters and situations to make them as miserable as possible before I try and find a way out of it, or in some cases don't find a way out of it and they die horribly. Does anyone want to try another? That's the best answer I can give. And I think it's an important question, and I'm glad you asked it, but I don't want to be confrontational. I'm wired the way I'm wired. And it's got nothing to do with my opinions of any perceived groups. Because I don't want to brag, but the virtue of my childhood is you take people as individuals. Who cares what they are? Anyone else? Fine, leave me hanging because, Yes, ma'am.
That is a good question. I think there's one of the things that was always so good about Fables is it had so many sort of rich opportunities for us to tell stories, so many characters whose lives we wanted to explore, and I think the reality is that there are an awful lot that we just didn't get to. I mean, I think we're going to try to get to as many as possible over this last year, even if it's just a glimpse at what happened to them. I know, I think for me, there is one particular story that was a prose story that Bill was going to write, and I was going to illustrate, which I won't spoil for you in case we still get to it in some form or other.
We might be able to in the last.
Yeah. But there are question marks over what happened and what's been going on with Bluebeard and Shere Khan, and that's something that I'm sorry we didn't get to yet, but I'm hopeful we may still do.
You'll know we got to it. I thought the title was lovely. So if you see something called A Movable Feast, that's what it is. Yeah, see, you went dark there too, didn't you? But, yes. Yes, sir. Okay. Is it against Bucky for ending Fables? Damn. I mean, okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to say something I've taken from Fables, and I'm a huge fan.
And we want you to give it back eventually, but go ahead.
I just wanted to say, because I've been collecting comics and going adventures for 20 plus years, it is the one comic that I have seen you can take so much from as a fan and learn from. It's a great comic. It's a great all-around story. Obviously, like you mentioned, it's been really important in my personal life, and I just like everyone here. We're all basically members of Buckingham from different worlds, different stories, different backgrounds, and much like in the comic, you guys have all brought us together into a wonderful community. So to all of you guys and to all of the fans, I'm glad to share that with you. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, Shelley's telling me we have to go, so let's do a lightning round of quick questions. Yes, sir.
Hard question on it real quick. With Fables now being bigger across media with books and obviously the Telltale game, it's a really far shot in the dark to get it might come back to what's going on in some of the media.
Some other form of media is often in the works. As far as ending Fables at 150, I think Shelley's in denial because she's already planning our dramatic return someday.
Oh, yes.
But she wants us to start now so that,
Pretty much.
Anyway, so I don't think she understands what ending at 150 means. And I don't think we should, she's delicate. So let's let her stay.
Yes,
in her
I'm
happy
so
little place.
delicate.
Yes, sir.
That's a good idea.
I love that question.
Yes, if you want it to come out in 2019.
No. Actually, okay. As for many of you, some newer fans, I'm not sure if everyone does know that Bill is such a wonderful illustrator as well as being a phenomenal writer. I would love to see at least a pinup, Bill. Could you promise us at least one drawing in issue 150? Just the one. Just the one. Pretty please, for this fan, not for me, for this fan who asked, who was brave enough to ask.
There's hundreds of witnesses.
Since you've never asked me anything before, I'll tell you what, I don't like doing pinups because like I said, I like something that tells a story. It's probably going to be no more than a 3-page story. You got it.
Oh, great.
You're never allowed to ask another question again. Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for actually ending Fables in our lifetime. That's great. So much to end, and I'm so happy to hear it is.
Stop the hate, man. Stop that. Right.
And my question is, anyone can take this, what is the meanest thing you did to one of the characters and that maybe you have a little bit of regret about?
There's so many.
You gotta understand, Mark is evil. No, God, that's a good.
I think I'm still feeling really guilty about Darian. I think that
Darian's the one that, right up, and I swear to God this is true, Mark and I were exchanging emails and phone calls right up until the last panel of that last page is done. We're still asking each other, dare we do, pardon the pun, but dare we do this? And we sort of had a cheat out. It's like, well, we could do this, I don't know, this kind of stuff. And I think we both decided it had to do. And yes, it was mean and it was nasty, and I still think, I go back and forth on it, but I still think it was ultimately the right choice. But yeah, that's one that, it seems silly to be haunted by a character who doesn't actually exist, who didn't actually die because he, once again, doesn't actually exist. But yeah, it did. It was mean. Oh, the meanest thing? The character Bluebeard was based upon a friend of mine, visually based upon a friend of mine, Brad Tomte, whom some of you have seen in many Fables panels doing the evil giveaways that he would come up with. And I decided in a fit of perversity not to tell him that I was killing him off. I wanted him to find out when he read the comic. And then call up and was like, Bill, I've had you back for so many years. We've been friends. What did you... So I wasn't going to do it. But then Brad was with me at a San Diego show when we were going out with Jeanette Kahn and Shelley and out to dinner. And Steve joined us, and he was there, and Brad joined, and this is the first time Steve actually saw Brad, and he's like looking at him and goes, wow, it's so weird to see someone in the flesh I just killed today, because he just inked that page. And that's how Brad found out he was a goner. That was mean, Steve. Yes, ma'am.
yes.
His imaginary wife, yes.
Well, no, that's not strictly true. Bill is perfectly capable. Well, I picked the wrong moment to have a sweetie, didn't I? My sweet tooth is my greatest flaw. But, anyway, yeah, I modelled. I'm dying here.
He's all
I
choked up over
based
here.
her likeness on my wife Emma, or she was my girlfriend at the time. We were dating, and at the time she was, she'd taken on the role of looking after the farm, and it was all very nice. And then Bill started doing terrible things to her, making her miserable, destroying the people that she loved, and putting her through the ringer. And it was like, do I have to do this to her every month? So yeah, no, it's fine. There's no embargo on terrible things happening to her. I just feel a bit
That's absolutely
guilty
true.
when I have to draw her.
As a matter of fact, you can actually gauge how well their marriage is getting along by how Bucky treats Rose Red during any given episode. So, episode again. I'm so Hollywood. Yeah, I don't actually believe Irma exists because in 8 years of so-called marriage, I've never met her. She gets invited to the San Diego Con while I'm there, and she couldn't make it because a TV gig came up. But then the one year I don't go, then suddenly she can go. And he spreads a lot of money around getting people to come up and swear. No, I've met Irma. I know she was like, yeah, well done. You're a very good actor. So yeah, he lords it over me with his imaginary wife because my imaginary girlfriend broke up with me last night thinking she could do better. And that's, yeah. Irma is based. If you want proof that it's true that, seriously, that we don't specifically have to be so kind to Rose Red just because she is visually based on Irma, see the upcoming arc because might as well reveal at least one thing it's about. Fables has been at its bedrock about two relationships. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff, but two relationships, the Bigby and Snow White relationship, which is on again and off again, and I wanted to show all the trials and tribulations in a fantasy setting of a marriage that fundamentally works. Lots of hardships, but it works. Then the sibling rivalry of Snow White and Rose Red, which has never come to a real head. It's sizzled for a bit, and then there's forgiveness, and on again, off again, but but grievances have been saved up and dampened down temporarily, and they are going to come ahead, and that's the substantial story of the last arc, of what happens when two very powerful magic beings who do not realize how powerful they really are, finally decide it's time to have it out. It gets very dark before either we give you a happy ending or not so much. The title of the last arc is Happily Ever After. Either it's sincere or sarcastic. We'll find out. I think that is a very good time. I apologize for those who did not get to ask a question, did not get to win a Romeo and Juliet bake-off, and may not have had their questions answered in what you consider a substantially informative way. But we thank you for being here. We hope you're along with us for the last year of Fables. I can't promise it's going to be good, but I can promise it's going to be the best we can do. And I can also promise that I hope you'll see that it was the story on which it should come to an end. Thank you very much for supporting us. Thank you.
Anybody want to go?
Pre-Steve Loyola sketch for the first one up here to get to. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, get in touch with them. We'll find out what books are lacking, whatever like that. We'll ship it.
Crew is still going to stay in.
That'd be great. You know, we're going to have a coffin filled with boozy beer. Yeah. That's great. Hi. Oh, yeah. I do. Oh, at the table. Mostly at the table. There's two small signings elsewhere, but mostly at the table. Yes. Hi. Thank you very much. Once upon a time, things like that. We had plenty of. Why didn't you try out for the cup? Did you try? No, not you. Those two. My attitude is the more the merrier. It's cool that there's people doing the kind of stuff I like, but that I'm not writing, so I know what happens. So I like it. And these are characters that everyone can use. So I think it's pretty cool that they're doing it. Yeah. There has been. We've had 2 pilots almost made. Now we have a movie possibly in production. But these things move slow until they move fast. So nothing right now. Oh, look at that. I know.
Door prizes. Humiliating fans.
Oh, yes. 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 Oh, I should have mentioned that.